Colonel Potter, sir. Corporal Klinger. I'm Section 8, head to toe. I'm wearing a Warner bra. I play with dolls. My last wish is to be buried in my mother's wedding.
The world once laughed and cried with the stars of MASH, but time has slowly taken many of them away. Today, only a few familiar faces remain, carrying memories of a show that changed television forever. Their lives have taken quiet, surprising turns since the spotlight faded. But what really happened to them all? Stay with us. Alan Alda. When the world first met MASH, it was more than just a television show. It was a window into a world far away, a place filled with the chaos of war, the strain of human conflict, and the delicate threads of friendship and laughter that held people together. For over a decade, millions of viewers followed the stories of doctors, nurses, and soldiers stationed in a mobile army surgical hospital during the Korean War. It was a show about war, but somehow it became a story about humanity. Every episode carried a lesson, a laugh, or a tear. By the time the series reached its finale in 1983, it had cemented itself into history as one of the most important television moments ever. Over 100 million people watched the last episode. It was the highest-rated finale in television history, and for days after, conversations across America revolved around the fate of those characters. Yet, as time passed, the world changed. The actors who once filled the screens with energy, charm, and emotion grew older. One by one, the cast began to leave us. Harry Morgan, McLean Stevenson, Wayne Rogers, they all became memories. But among them, there was one man whose presence never truly faded, whose soul seemed intertwined with the heart of the show itself. That man was Alan Alda. Alan Alda played Captain Benjamin Franklin Pierce, better known as Hawkeye. From the moment he appeared on screen, he was different. Hawkeye was witty, mischievous, and often reckless. But beneath the jokes and pranks was a heart that cared deeply for everyone around him. He could make you laugh until your stomach hurt, and then, in the next breath, make you feel the crushing weight of war. Alan Alda brought humanity to the role in a way that felt alive, real, and unforgettable. He did not simply play a surgeon in a faraway war camp. He played the human spirit fighting to stay sane and kind in the middle of chaos. When the series ended, Alan could have walked away quietly. Many actors do, leaving behind the shadows of their greatest roles. But he did not. He carried the lessons, the laughter, and the compassion with him into the next chapters of his life. After MASH, Alan became a director and a writer. He directed episodes of television, directed films, and acted in other projects, always bringing the same warmth and insight he had carried as Hawkeye. He became a storyteller beyond the hospital tents, a man fascinated by human connections, science, and communication. One of the most remarkable parts of Alan's post-MASH life was his work in science communication. He realized that explaining science to the public required the same clarity, honesty, and compassion that made his character so beloved. He spoke about science in a way that made it relatable, not intimidating. He taught people how to think, to ask questions, and to care. Even decades after leaving MASH, he remained a teacher, a mentor, and a guide for many who would never even know him as Hawkeye. In his personal life, Alan faced battles that were invisible, but no less challenging. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a condition that slowly affects movement and coordination. For many, this could have been a private struggle, hidden away from the public eye. But Alan chose honesty. He spoke openly about his diagnosis, showing courage and vulnerability in the same way he had brought to his acting. His openness was a reminder that even the strongest hearts sometimes need support. He became an advocate, a voice for others facing similar challenges, proving that compassion extends beyond the screen and into every aspect of life. Even today, in 2026, Alan Alda is 87 years old, yet he remains vibrant, active, and inspiring. He participates in podcasts, engages in public speaking, continues writing, and shares his wisdom with anyone willing to listen. He is proof that age does not define relevance, and that the impact of kindness and intelligence can last a lifetime. Watching him speak is like witnessing the same Hawkeye humor and warmth he brought to the screen, but now layered with decades of real-life experience. His laughter is softer, his words deeper, but the spark remains. Alan's story is more than a biography, it is a lesson in resilience and human spirit. He didn't just play compassion, He lived it. He showed the world that humor could coexist with pain, that intelligence could coexist with humility, and that a single person could carry a legacy of kindness and laughter for decades. While some of his friends from the MASH cast have left this world, Alan remains as a living reminder of what made the show extraordinary. He is a bridge between the past and the present, connecting the memories of the series to the lives of those who grew up watching it. And yet, there is an almost cinematic suspense to thinking about Alan today. Imagine a man who spent years pretending to be a mischievous surgeon, now facing the real challenges of life with the same courage and humor he displayed on screen. Imagine someone who made millions laugh, now sharing quiet wisdom that may change the life of a single listener forever. There is a tension in that, a beauty in the contrast between fiction and reality, and it is precisely what keeps people fascinated by Alan Alda even now. Even as Hawkeye, Alan taught audiences to care about others, to fight for what is right, and to laugh even when life seems impossible. In real life, he embodies the same lessons. His life after MASH has not been a simple story of celebrity or fame. It has been a journey of purpose, of helping others understand the world, and of showing that love, compassion, and humor can endure. He has become more than an actor. He has become a symbol, a reminder that humanity can shine brightest in the darkest moments. The show may have ended in 1983, and the world of MASH may have faded into reruns, but Alan Alda's journey continues. He is a living connection to a story that shaped television history, a man who bridges decades of laughter, tears, and life lessons. In 2026, he remains active, present, and fully engaged with the world. And as the chapter of Alan's life closes, quietly turning the page, it leads to another story, another survivor of the show. Loretta Sweet. When audiences first stepped into the world of MASH, they met many unforgettable characters. Some were loud and funny, some were gentle and kind, but one stood out in a very different way. She was strong, disciplined, and unshakable. That was Major Margaret Houlihan, brought to life by Loretta Sweet. At the beginning, Margaret Houlihan was not easy to love. She followed every rule. She expected perfection. She carried herself with authority and control. In a place filled with chaos and constant pressure, she believed discipline was the only way to survive. Many viewers saw her as cold and distant. Some even feared her presence. But that was only the surface of who she really was. As the story of MASH moved forward, as something quiet and powerful began to happen, Margaret started to change. Not all at once, but slowly, gently, like a heart opening after being closed for too long. The audience began to see her struggles, her pain, and her humanity. She was not just a strict officer. She was a woman trying to stay strong in a world that tested her every day. Through moments of heartbreak, friendship, and courage, Margaret became one of the most loved characters on the show. She learned to laugh. She learned to trust. She showed kindness in ways no one expected at the beginning. The same woman who once seemed distant now felt deeply real. She became someone viewers could understand, someone they could care about. This transformation did not happen by accident. Loretta Sweet brought depth and truth to every scene. She gave Margaret a soul. She showed that strength is not about being hard or unfeeling. It is about standing tall while still allowing yourself to care. This balance made Margaret unforgettable. When the show finally ended in 1983, it left behind a powerful legacy. For Loretta, it was not the end of her journey. It was simply the start of a new chapter. She stepped away from the familiar world of the army camp and moved toward new creative paths. After MASH, Loretta returned to the stage, where her love for theater continued to grow. She performed in plays across the country, bringing the same energy and dedication that made her famous. Theater allowed her to connect with audiences in a more personal way. There were no cameras, no retakes, just raw emotion shared in the moment. It was a place where her talent could shine in a different light. But her life was not only about acting. Loretta found a deeper purpose that reached beyond the stage. She became passionate about animal welfare. This cause became a central part of her life. She worked to protect animals, to speak for those who could not speak for themselves. Her voice, once used to bring a fictional character to life, now carried real meaning in the world. She supported organizations, raised awareness, and used her public presence to make a difference. Her dedication to animals showed another side of her strength. It was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, caring, and deeply committed. Just like Margaret, she stood firm in what she believed, but now her mission was rooted in compassion. As the years passed, the world continued to change. Many of her fellow cast members from MASH began to fade into memory. Their voices became echoes from the past. Their faces remained on screens, but they were no longer here. Through it all, Loretta remained one of the few still carrying that shared history. Now, in 2026, Loretta Swit is 87 years old. She has stepped back from acting, choosing a quieter life away from the spotlight. But quiet does not mean still. She continues to support animal welfare and charitable causes. Her passion has not faded. It has only grown stronger with time. She lives peacefully, reflecting on a life filled with purpose, strength, and kindness. The world may not see her on stage or on screen as often, but her impact remains. Fans still remember her, still admire her, still feel connected to the characters she brought to life. There is something deeply moving about her journey. She began as a figure of strict control, a woman defined by rules and order, but over time, both on screen and in real life, she revealed a softer side, one filled with empathy and care. She proved that strength and kindness can live together in the same heart. Her story carries a quiet suspense. It is not about sudden change or dramatic turns. It is about slow growth, about becoming something more than what others expect. It is about showing the world that even the strongest walls can open, and when they do, something beautiful appears. Loretta Swit did not just play Margaret Houlihan. She gave her life depth and meaning, and in doing so, she gave the audience something even more important. She gave them a reminder that people can change, that strength can be gentle, and that compassion is never a weakness. Meanwhile, someone else kept the laughter alive, even beyond the war camp. Jamie Farr. In the busy emotional world of MASH, where pain and pressure were always close, there was one character who stood out in the most unexpected way. He did not try to be serious. He did not try to fit in. Instead, he made people laugh, even when everything around him felt heavy. That character was Corporal Maxwell Q, Klinger, brought to life by Jamie Farr. At first, Klinger was introduced as a man with one simple goal. He wanted to leave the Army. He tried everything he could think of, but what made him unforgettable was his wild and bold plan. He wore dresses, bright outfits, and unusual combinations, hoping the Army would send him home. It was strange, it was funny, and it caught everyone's attention right away. But what started as a small comedic idea slowly grew into something much bigger. Klinger became more than just a joke. Behind the laughter, there was a man who was clever, loyal, and deeply human. As the show continued, viewers began to see his heart. He cared about the people around him. He stayed strong during hard times. And in a surprising turn, he stopped trying to leave and became someone the camp could depend on. This change was quiet, but powerful. It showed that even the most unlikely person could grow into someone important. Jamie Farr played this role with perfect balance. He made people laugh, but he also made them care. Every scene carried his unique charm, a kind of warmth that felt real and comforting. While other characters showed the pain of war through serious moments, Klinger showed it through humor. He reminded everyone that laughter can be a way to survive. It can bring light into dark places. And sometimes, it can say more than words ever could. When MASH came to an end in 1983, the laughter did not disappear. Jamie Farr carried it with him into the next chapter of his life. He continued acting, appearing in different television shows, and making guest appearances that reminded people of his talent. Even in smaller roles, his presence was always noticeable. There was something about his energy that made people smile. He also returned to the stage, where his love for performing continued to grow. Theater gave him a different kind of connection with audiences. It was closer, more personal, and filled with real-time emotion. He brought the same dedication to the stage that he had shown on television, proving that his talent was not limited to one role. Over the years, Jamie Farr also made appearances at public events. Fans who had grown up watching MASH were eager to meet him. They wanted to see the man who had made them laugh during so many unforgettable moments. And when they did, they found someone just as kind and genuine as they had hoped. There is something special about a person who can make others laugh without losing their sense of humility. Jamie Farr never forgot where he came from. He stayed grounded, grateful for the opportunities he had, and respectful of the people who supported him. Fame did not change him. It simply gave him a larger stage to share his kindness. As time moved forward, many of his fellow cast members began to fade away. The world that once felt so full started to grow quieter. The voices that filled the screen became memories. But Jamie Farr remained one of the few still here, carrying those memories with him. Now, in 2026, Jamie Farr is 90 years old. He has stepped back from the busy world of acting, choosing a more peaceful and private life. He is mostly retired, enjoying his time away from the spotlight. But every now and then, he still appears at fan conventions and charity events. When he does, something magical happens. People gather around him, smiling, remembering, laughing. It is as if time stands still for a moment. The years fall away, and they see Klinger again, the man who made them laugh when they needed it most. Even now, he is remembered not just for his talent, but for his kindness. Those who meet him often speak of his warm personality and his genuine nature. He does not act like a distant star. He feels like someone familiar, someone who understands the value of connection. There is a quiet beauty in his story. It is not filled with dramatic turns or loud moments. Instead, it is steady, gentle, and full of heart. It reminds us that laughter is not something small or simple. It is powerful. It can heal. It can bring people together, and it can last long after the moment has passed. Jamie Farr showed the world that even in the middle of war, there is room for joy. He proved that being different is not a weakness. It is a strength. And through his role as Klinger, he left behind something that will never fade. Even behind the laughter, a grounded, grateful man shines through. That is what makes his story so special. It is not just about the jokes or the costumes. It is about the heart behind them, the quiet strength that kept going even when things were uncertain. But not every survivor stayed in the spotlight. Some chose peace over fame. Gary Berghoff. Inside the warm, emotional world of MASH, there was one character who felt different from the rest. He was not loud, he was not bold, he did not try to stand out. Yet somehow he became one of the most unforgettable faces in the entire story. That was Radar O'Reilly, brought to life by Gary Berghoff. Radar was gentle, innocent, and deeply kind. In a place filled with stress and fear, he felt like a quiet light. He had a special way of understanding people. Sometimes, it even seemed like he could sense things before they happened. He moved softly, spoke carefully, and carried a calm presence that made others feel safe. While the doctors worked under pressure and the camp buzzed with tension, Radar stayed steady. He helped keep everything together behind the scenes. Papers were always ready, messages were always delivered, problems were quietly solved before anyone even noticed them. He was not just part of the camp, he was its heart. What made Radar so special was not just what he did, but who he was. He showed kindness without asking for anything in return. He believed in people, he trusted them. And in a world shaped by war, that kind of innocence was rare and powerful. Gary Berghoff played this role with a softness that felt real. Nothing about his performance seemed forced. Every movement, every expression, every moment carried truth. He made Radar feel like a real person, not just a character on a screen. Viewers did not just watch him, they cared about him. But as the show continued, something unexpected happened. While MASH grew more popular and successful, Gary began to feel the weight of it all. Fame can look bright from the outside, but it often carries a quiet pressure that few people understand. Long hours, constant attention, and the demands of Hollywood began to take their toll. Unlike many others, Gary made a decision that surprised people. He chose to leave the show earlier than most of the main cast. At a time when the series was still loved and growing, he stepped away. It was not a dramatic exit filled with noise. It was a quiet choice, made from a place of honesty and self-understanding. For many fans, it was a moment filled with emotion. Radar leaving the camp felt like losing a piece of its soul. His absence was deeply felt, not just by the characters, but by the audience as well. It showed how important he truly was. But for Gary, this decision was about something deeper than fame or success. It was about peace. It was about finding a life that felt real and balanced. Walking away from something so big is never easy. It takes courage, it takes strength, and sometimes it takes a quiet kind of bravery that not everyone can understand. After leaving MASH, Gary did not chase the spotlight. Instead, he chose a different path. He explored personal interests, including music and creative projects that brought him joy. He also became involved in private business ventures, building a life away from the cameras. His days became calmer, more private, and more grounded. He was no longer surrounded by bright lights or constant attention. Instead, he found comfort in a quieter world, one where he could move at his own pace and focus on what truly mattered to him. As the years passed, many of his former cast members remained in the public eye, while others slowly faded from view. Gary chose to stay out of Hollywood, away from the noise and pressure. His life became something simple, something steady, something peaceful. Now, in 2026, Gary Berghoff is 81 years old. He lives privately in California, far from the busy world that once surrounded him. His life is quiet, filled with reflection and calm. He does not seek attention, but his legacy remains strong. From time to time, he reflects on the show that changed his life. MASH is still remembered by millions, and Radar O'Reilly continues to live on in every episode. Even though Gary stepped away, his presence never truly left. The character he created remains one of the most loved in television history. There is something deeply moving about his journey. In a world where many chase fame and hold onto it tightly, Gary chose something different. He chose peace. He chose privacy. He chose a life that felt true to himself. Sometimes the bravest choice is not staying in the spotlight. Sometimes it is walking away from it. Gary Berghoff gave the world a character full of innocence and heart. And in real life, he showed that strength can be quiet, that courage can be gentle, and that peace can be the greatest reward of all. Some, however, chose to channel their fame into advocacy and purpose. Mike Farrell. In the ever-changing world of MASH, where laughter and pain walked side by side, a new face arrived who quietly changed everything. He did not come with noise or pride. He came with calm energy, gentle strength, and a deep sense of right and wrong. That man was B.J. Honeycutt, brought to life by Mike Farrell. When BJ first appeared, he stepped into a space that had already been filled with strong personalities. It was not easy to stand out in a place like that, but he did not try to compete. Instead, he found his own way. He was kind, thoughtful, and steady. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, his words carried meaning. BJ was more than just a surgeon. He was a man who believed in doing what was right, even when it was hard. He cared deeply about people, not just as patients, but as human beings. In a world shaped by war, where anger and fear could easily take over, he remained grounded. He reminded others to stay human, to stay kind, and to never lose sight of what truly matters. What made BJ so special was his balance. He could laugh with his friends, share light moments, and still carry a quiet seriousness when needed. He was a friend, a partner, and a voice of reason. Many saw him as the moral compass of the camp, someone who helped guide others when things felt uncertain. Mike Farrell brought this character to life with honesty and care. His performance felt natural, as if he was not acting at all, but simply living the role. He showed that strength does not always need to be loud. Sometimes it is found in calm choices, in quiet courage, and in standing firm when everything around you feels unstable. As the show moved toward its final years, BJ became one of the most trusted and respected characters. His presence added depth to the story. He was not just part of the camp, he was part of its heart. When MASH ended in 1983, the journey for Mike Farrell did not slow down. While many actors looked for their next big role, Mike followed a path that felt different. He continued acting, appearing in television and film, but his life began to grow beyond the screen. He became deeply involved in humanitarian work. This was not something he did for attention. It was something he believed in. He supported causes that focused on human rights, justice, and compassion. He used his voice to speak for those who were often unheard. This new path gave his life a different kind of purpose. Acting had allowed him to tell stories, but now he was helping to shape real ones. He worked with organizations, supported important movements, and stayed committed to making a difference in the world. At the same time, Mike also turned to writing. Through his words, he shared thoughts, ideas, and reflections on life, society, and the importance of understanding one another. Writing gave him another way to connect with people, a quieter but powerful form of expression. There is something deeply moving about this part of his journey. Many people reach a point where they step back and rest, but Mike chose to step forward in a new way. He showed that life after fame does not have to be empty. It can be filled with meaning, purpose, and action. As the years passed, the world of MASH slowly became a memory. The camp that once felt so alive now lived mostly in reruns and in the hearts of fans. Many of his fellow cast members began to leave this world, their stories coming to an end. But Mike remained, carrying those memories with him. Now, in 2026, Mike Farrell is 83 years old. He is still active, still engaged, and still committed to the causes he believes in. He continues to support humanitarian efforts and speaks about the importance of compassion in both media and everyday life. His voice has not faded. If anything, it has become stronger with time. It carries the weight of experience, the depth of understanding, and the quiet confidence of someone who has stayed true to his values. When he speaks, people listen, not because he is famous, but because he is sincere. His words feel real, shaped by years of living, learning, and caring. There is a quiet suspense in his story. It is not about sudden changes or dramatic moments. It is about a steady journey, one step at a time, moving towards something meaningful. It is about a man who could have chosen an easy path, but instead chose one filled with purpose. Mike Farrell showed the world that being part of something great is only the beginning. What matters most is what you do after. He proved that kindness is not just something you act out on screen. It is something you live every day. His story shows that life after fame can still be a mission. It can grow, change, and become something even more important than what came before. There is a feeling that something larger is still unfolding. The stories of these survivors are not just about the past. They are about the present, about the way their lives continue to shape the world in quiet and meaningful ways. Though time has claimed many, their memory and impact live on in the stories of the living.